webinar. Good afternoon and welcome to our first webinar in the series Sharing Good Practice in the Welsh Baccalaureate. And today, as Anne said, we are being hosted by the College Merthyr Tydfil, who are in the middle of their Global Citizenship Conference and exhibition. And as we found out earlier, this is also coinciding with their Estin inspection. I think you're during the in the middle of the second week. So we are extremely grateful that you have taken the time to share your excellent work with us today. We are also joined by two students, by David Jones, who's an AS and Welsh Back student, and Ryan Lynham, who is an AS and Welsh Back student. And we're going to chat to these two lovely young men later. We have Emma Vincent, the Regional Support Officer from WJEC with us, and we have Paul Davis from Cymoedd, who is going to share some of his experience as a practitioner. So the aims for today's webinar are to share effective practice of the exhibition and conference, to identify strengths and areas for development for the Global Citizenship Challenge, to share learner experience of the Welsh Baccalaureate, and that will be with Ryan and with David, and to share practitioner experience of the Welsh Baccalaureate with Dawn Price from Merthyr and Paul Davis from Cymoedd. We are going to ask you to contribute your own experiences, so you can do this by adding comments and questions to the chat pane. If we're not able to respond during the live webinar, we will collate the questions and we will respond afterwards. So I'm going to introduce Dawn Price to you. She is the Learning Core Manager here in the College Merthyr Tydfil. Thank you ever so much for hosting us during this very stressful fortnight, but what a chance to share with us your exhibition that we've been walking around and chatting to students this morning. So can you actually tell us about your provision in Merthyr, Dawn?
Yes, we have 723 students on the Advanced Welsh Back, 37 foundation post-16, 128 national students, 48 Welsh Back groups at advanced level, 8 foundation and national groups. We also work very closely with the University of South Wales, and we try to be as innovative as possible in our delivery. This includes working with the police, fire service, creating films, coaching in a range of areas, giving students the opportunity to take part in a global conference each year, which runs for a week. All of our students who have additional needs are supported by a highly experienced team of learning coaches. A small percentage of our students are ESOL and tend to cope extremely well with their Welsh Back work. Students taking part in Welsh Back range from A-level to creative industries, sport, public services, business, travel and tourism, engineering, hair and beauty, and we try to offer a wide range of challenges to suit each individual to help them with their career progression and their individual needs.
Thank you, Dawn. And actually, we're going to come back later to ask you a little bit more about the conference that is actually taking place as we broadcast. But thank you for setting the scene and just giving us a bit of information about the wide variety of work that you've got going on in Merthyr. So over to you in the webinar now. We're going to actually ask you to mark how confident you're feeling today about delivering the Global Citizenship Challenge. We've got quite a few people joining us. If you could use your pen tool and just mark on the line, either you might be feeling very confident or you might be feeling not so confident, or smack bang in the middle as one of you has just started. So let's just see where we are. It might be your first time this year delivering Global Citizenship Challenge. It's looking as though we're veering towards being a little bit confident to fairly confident. Just give everybody a chance to find their pen tool, particularly those that have just joined us. If you have just joined us, your pen tool is in the menu on the left-hand side. So we've got some people not so confident. So hopefully by listening to the experience of other practitioners today, joining in conversations on the chat pane, you'll be able to gain in confidence throughout the next 3/4 of an hour. So we're just going to move you on to the next slide. Now you'll see in front of you there are 2 resources that we're just going to highlight this afternoon. The one on the left-hand side, the Global Citizen Resource Pack. Now this is for the Advanced Global Citizenship. If you've seen it, perhaps you can mark it put a little mark in black. If you've actually read the resource pack and are using it, perhaps you could mark in red. See if you can find the colours on the menu on the left-hand side. If you've read this Global Citizen Resource Pack, mark it in red. If you've seen it, mark it in black. So somebody's read it, or are you ticking the newsletter? Perhaps you've read that. If you haven't, it's worth visiting the WJEC website and having a look at this resource pack. We can see that some of you have seen it but not actually looked at it. There are 3 sections. The first section focusing on the development of skills knowledge. The second section focuses on the application of skills. I can see that there are quite a few people, which is really encouraging, that have seen and read the resource pack. And then the third section is on skills reflection. Now, reflection is something that we know across the board is an area to develop, thinking about the principal moderators reports, how we encourage learners to not just reflect on the activities that they've taken part in, but actually on the skills that they're developing. I think there was one particular quote that was part of the creativity and innovation section on page 111 of this booklet. The creative person knows that there is always room for improvement. And I think if that's something that I'd like to flag up, if you haven't read the document, find that on page 111. And you'll also find lots of teaching ideas for the skills that are introduced in the challenge. So if you are one of the ones that have ticked in black, definitely open up that resource pack, download it, open it up and make use of it. If you are one of the ones that's ticked in red, let us know in the chat pane how you have used it and what bits in particular that have been useful. On the right hand side, you'll see the Welsh Baccalaureate and Skills newsletter. There are actually 2 up on the website at the moment. They are worth looking at, and I can see some people have ticked in red, so they've already seen it. We know that definitely the College Merthyr Tydfil have seen it because they're actually featured in this second edition of the newsletter. So if you want to read a little bit more about the College Merthyr Tydfil, you can visit the newsletter. But if you have something to share, definitely get in touch with WJEC because they will be looking for articles, and indeed let us know in Colegau Cymru because we're always looking for your good news stories as well. And I can see that the Welsh Back Warrior has used the resource pack like a workbook, talking through each page and completing the activity in turn. So actually that's some very heavy use of that. Fantastic. Thank you. And actually, while we're mentioning the Back Warrior, if you are on Twitter, definitely worth following the Welsh Back Warrior and joining in at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, I believe, at the hashtag Backchat, because it's just another way that we can start collaborating across Wales, both in FE and in the school sector. So if you're a Twitter user, get online 8 o'clock tomorrow night to the Backchat. Okay, so we are going to move on and test your knowledge. If you've read the resource pack and you are feeling confident, this is the time to pin your colours to the mast. We moved on to the next slide. Yes. Okay. In front of you, we've got the 7 skills. So again, we're just going to ask you to mark which skills are summatively assessed in the Global Citizenship Challenge. So which skills are summatively assessed? Put a tick across the ones that are summatively assessed. Oh, yeah, we've still got some going in red there. Give you a couple more minutes for a few more people to join in. Oh, wow. There was a big line there across. Okay. We've got a few more answers coming in. So, summatively assessed, we have literacy. So well done, all those ticks against literacy. We have critical thinking and problem solving. So well done there. We had quite a few people ticking that. Oh, I'm liking the yellow. I'm coming back to that yellow. And we have creativity and innovation. But you are right. Whoever did that big yellow circle, all of the skills can be developed through all of the challenges and indeed throughout the entire curriculum, because we are focused on developing skills that will help our learners progress in work, in life and in their further studies. So well done whoever did that big yellow circle. I'm in total agreement with you. And now I'm going to pass you over and introduce to you Emma Vincent. So Emma Vincent is the Regional Support Officer. So many of you will know Emma very well. And she's going to give us an overview of what WJEC are expecting from the Global Citizenship Challenge.
Hi. At advanced level, the Global Citizenship Challenge will provide learners with the opportunity to build knowledge and understanding of global issues from 6 themes. These themes are health, food and shelter, population, transportation, economy, and the natural environment. It's expected that the teaching and learning programme should be at least 50 hours and should cover all 6 themes. The Global Citizenship Teaching and Learning Resource Pack, which Karen just spoke about, is available on our website to support the teaching and learning. So at foundation and national post-16 level, the Global Citizenship Challenge provides learners with the opportunity to build knowledge and understanding of global issues from 8 themes. Now, these 8 themes are waste management, ethical and eco-friendly products, new technologies, famine, migration, unfair working conditions, consumerism and pollution. And it's expected that the teaching and learning programme should cover at least one of these themes. At this level, learners must be provided with a resource pack, which is produced by the lecturer. And if you refer to our delivery handbook for guidance, it will help you to produce this resource pack. So the challenge brief at national and foundation level should be linked to the learning programme being studied. And task sheets for all 3 levels are located on our secure website.
Fantastic. So, Emma, we've already seen in the last slide the 3 skills that are being developed and the fact that actually we could develop all 7. But do you want to let us know in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, the ones that we're assessing, we're looking at in global citizenship, explicitly developing the skills of literacy, critical thinking and problem solving, and creativity and innovation, and applying them in an appropriate manner.
Okay, and as Anne said, if you've got any questions that you want to post to Emma, please type them in the chat pane because we will have a little bit of time for Emma to respond to any questions. So the big question now, Emma, what evidence are you looking for? Now we've gone through the series once, haven't we?
Okay, so at advanced level, we're looking for a personal standpoint of no more than 1,000 words, and there's no need to include the sources that the learners have put together for this at advanced level. We're also looking for the contribution to the Global Choices Conference, and this should be demonstrating the creativity of the solution for the conference and evidence of contribution. So this could include question and answer session after the conference paper, and all importantly, the reflection on the skills that have been developed. We do have exemplars for advance, and these can be found again on our secure website. At foundation and national post-16 level, the evidence should include the personal standpoint, but with this personal standpoint, you should be sending in the annotated resource pack. And then we'd expect to see the exhibition pack for national or raising awareness product for foundation. And this should also include the development of the exhibition pack and raising awareness pack. And again, the personal reflection, all important. For any further guidance on assessment requirements, please refer to the delivery handbook, the specification, and of course the principal moderator's reports, all of which can be found on our website.
Thank you, Emma. I think that was very clear. I'm just going to pause for a second just to see if there are any questions. We'll just give a second in the chat pane. I think we can see a couple of people type in to see if there are any questions. Multiple attendees typing. Emma, there are a lot of questions coming your way. If we haven't got time to take all the questions, we can get back to you, but we'll just give people a couple of seconds to ask their questions, and we'll see those coming through now. And I think I'm just going to give you, oh, we're still typing. They're going to be long questions. All right. So there's a document available that suggests some approved titles. Is that, are you thinking of the approved challenge briefs on?
I think what you're talking about is where I think at CPD we gave a list of suggested titles for the conferences. That is available on the secure website, but yes, I can pass it over to Karen who could upload it for later. That would be fine.
Okay, so if anybody didn't attend the CPD to get the list of
This was
approved
last
titles.
year's CPD.
Okay, we can send out, and I think we've had some of those titles just typed into the chat pane. Okay, thank you. Yes, we've got some of those. I think what we'll do, I can see that some people are still typing. We'll come back to your questions. We'll just move on to the next slide now, just to have a look. Oh, we've just got one question, Emma. What do you mean by no need to include sources in the standpoint? Does that mean they don't need to?
The sources that they'd maybe print off and use to put their standpoint together at advanced level don't need to be sent off with the personal standpoint when you send it for moderation. However, they will be referenced and the credibility of sources will come through from the personal standpoint. It's just the actual hard copies of the sources don't need to be sent. There we are. Okay. Thanks, Karen.
No problem. Okay, so the slide that you can see in front of us now, if you've had a look at the moderator's report, I think it's really encouraging that it starts with two very positive statements for both the advanced, with the breadth and depth of the responses to the Advanced Global Citizenship Challenge, have clearly shown that despite this being the first series for centres, they have prepared candidates thoroughly and appropriately. So well done to everybody that submitted work during that first series, because it's showing that those skills have been coming through. And again, for Foundation and National Global Citizenship Challenge, the outcomes have been most encouraging. Okay, we have had one more question, or we've had two more questions, so we're just going to call Emma. We're going to come back to those at the end. Emma can see your questions. She's writing a response, and we will make sure that we come back to those questions at the end, but we are keeping a note of them in the chat pane. So as well as lots of positive comments in the moderator's report, there were some areas to develop, and I've just picked out a few that appeared in both the advanced and in the Foundation and National. So you can read the bullet points yourself. So the skills being assessed in the context of the chosen theme, the credibility of sources. So in the Foundation and National, it was stated that the credibility of sources was often overlooked. This requirement is clearly set out in the assessment criteria. It is important that centres spend time developing candidate skills to evaluate sources of information before the controlled assessment. So some centres use the acronym RU, and that stands for relevant, up-to-date, reliable, and the usefulness, so that they can use that to evaluate their sources. And at advanced, the credibility of sources was often overlooked in both the preparation for writing the standpoint and in the standpoint itself. And this requirement is clearly set out in the assessment criteria. It is important the centre spends some time developing candidate skills in evaluating sources of information and ensure it is included as part of the personal standpoint. It should not be a separate section or annotated bibliography and must be included in the word count. And I think we might hear from Ryan afterwards, as he feels that this is one of the skills that he is developing as we speak. So reflection relating to the skills, and I think that's come across not just in the Global Citizenship Challenge, but in the other challenges that went through the first series as well. So in the Global Citizenship, the reflection element is of the critical thinking and problem solving process, not the outcome of the personal standpoint. So they need to reflect on how their skills were being developed. And in the advanced, the moderator felt that overall candidates did not reflect in detail on their own creativity and innovation. And again, so it's how they came up with some ideas, how they evaluated their ideas, how they moved their ideas forward towards a solution. So again, it's looking at reflecting on the skills, not just on the personal standpoint. And the last point there on annotation. Now, this was just some guidance for assessors, saying that it is good to see candidates' work annotated, not just with the learning outcome, but with justification for the marks awarded and the banding. I think that helps in the moderation process. So I've not been keeping an eye on the chat pane, Anne, but I think if there are any questions on the moderator's report, please put them into the chat pane and we'll come back to them. But we'd like to go on to talk to Dawn Price a little bit more about the effective practice that's happening here in Merthyr, because I know that's what you've all signed in to hear. And here's some pictures as well while Dawn's talking. So can you actually tell us what's happening this week, Dawn? And you can see some pictures of what's happening this week.
Right, we are in the second week of our inspection, which has coincided with our second Welsh Back Global Citizenship Conference. The conference consists of 38 stands each day for a week and involves over 360 students, and the stands change every day, so different students display their work on a daily basis. Each student or group of students have the opportunity to display their work. Students have leaflets to give away to the public and people visiting the stands. And as has already been said, as it's an Eston inspection, they've already been talking to some of the inspectors as well. Students have been taught the skills required for global citizenship, carried out practice tasks, then did part of their control tasks. Their reflection is done later. Many are booked in for next week. Students create display materials for their boards using IT. They hand out their leaflets, which stimulate discussion. Some students are very innovative and have shot short films. They create plays. They are running on the big screen. Others have used a range of media resources to base some of their information on. And students have covered a wide range of skills: literacy, critical thinking, problem solving, and digital literacy. I think it's been a very helpful use for some of their resources and to develop some of their skills in an innovative way.
And I think with their literacy skills as well, just going around chatting to some of the students here and asking questions, they've obviously done a lot of research and are able to answer really clearly and concisely. And just some of the leaflets that we've picked up this morning, we've picked up leaflets about refugees, the refugee crisis, hybrid cars. Again, we've got a few on the refugee this morning, and also on homelessness. And we'll talk in a moment to David and Ryan about the particular themes that they've been concentrating on as well. But you can see in the last couple of slides some of the pictures from Merthyr. I believe this was last year's conference, and there was also a play. And we've got a video at the end which we will share about the refugee crisis as we leave the webinar at the end that Dawn sent us. But again, over to you now. If you could just use your emoticons just to give me a smiley face, just to let me know that you are still here and you are still listening. So just using your emoticons. Thank you, Libby. Libby's still here and Helen's still here and Fran. So we're just checking that you're still awake and you're still with us on our webinar this afternoon. So you'll see in front of you in the slide now the themes that Emma went through earlier for the post-16, the Foundation and National, and also for the Advanced. So what we'd like you to do is just to mark on the slide which themes your students are covering this year, and then could you just tell us in the chat pane some of the titles that you're using. I know we had the Back Warrior give us quite a lot of suggested titles earlier, but perhaps if you could tell us what you're doing at the moment. This is your chance to share across Wales some of your practice. Dawn, we have had a question. Did the conference follow a typical format, e.g. keynote speaker or workshops?
Well, the students have taken part in a range of workshops. They're not being formally assessed in the form of their speeches and their today, because of the range of tasks that's going on. That part has already either been done previously or will be done within the next few days. We've had a number of guest speakers come in, as we did last year. The university has been very good with us on those issues. So the conference follows a range of stands, students speaking at those stands, displaying their work at those stands. Some of the students have got slides which they've used in their speeches. Some of the students have got videos which they've used as well. I hope that answers people's questions.
Fantastic, thank you, Dawn. And I'm sure perhaps not this year because it's too late, but next year if you're doing it again, maybe you would welcome some visitors to come to Merthyr and have a look at the exhibition and the conference, so you can get in touch with us.
Yep. Anybody's welcome anytime.
Fantastic. And we can see there's a real wide range. I think in advance we're covering absolutely everything. So we're going to move on now to introduce to you. Oh, just waiting for my slide to get there. We are. In front of you, you can see that we have in the bottom left-hand corner David Jones, and in the top right-hand corner we have Ryan Lynham. So we're just going to have a chat to two of our learners that are currently studying the Welsh Back. So, David, we'll start with you. Why did you decide to study the Welsh Back?
So, although the Welsh Back is compulsory in Merthyr, there's still a lot of choice we get. But I chose to do a few things because it's the amount of skills that can be developed, such as report writing, public speaking, and things like that. And I think it's going to be a very big help for me in the future.
Okay, so what skills do you feel have been improved by studying the Welsh Back?
Yeah, so I can think I think my like report writing through the global citizenship has been improved, the public speaking and things like that, because we've had to obviously speak to people in the conference, and yeah, just things like that really.
And actually, you've had quite an exciting week this week. Not only have you had the exhibition here in Merthyr, but you've been involved in something else, which you're.
Yeah, I've just come back from the Big Ideas Wales boot camp in Margam, and I was chosen as one of well, five of us were chosen out of the group of 50 to receive a £1,000 grant from the Welsh Government, and I was one of those for my business idea.
So you've had a business idea, and you're going to share what that business idea is.
Yeah, so it's a location-based alarm basically for the tube in London. So if, for instance, you've fallen asleep on the tube, or you're new to the tube and you don't really know where to get off, the app would notify you saying, "Oh, you need to get off your train now."
Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing that app being developed because you've already got a couple of customers in the room waiting for it. So, what do you hope to do next? So, using those skills you've developed in the Welsh Back and in your studies, what are you hoping to do next?
So I'm looking to go to uni, and at the moment I'm thinking of going to uni in America. So yeah, the Welsh Back would obviously help a lot with the writing aspect because for the American entrance things, you've got to write a fair few essays and things like that for the entrance. So there's parts of that could be a part of Welsh Back could be helpful because my subject in Merthyr are all science based. I'm doing maths, further maths, physics, and computer science. So there's not much writing kind of stuff.
So actually, the opportunity to develop your writing skills in the Welsh Back will actually help you with your university application, which is great for somebody studying the science-based subjects. That's fantastic, and I think we will move over to Ryan to say hello to Ryan. So thank you, David. If you have any questions for David Jones, please type them in the chat pane. And again, we're hoping to have a few minutes to come back to those later. So good afternoon, Ryan. Pronouns are. So can you tell me, why did you decide to study the Welsh Back?
Well, as Dav said, it is compulsory, but there is a lot of choice within the subject. So I've chosen to study the refugee crisis, but I know other groups are doing things like sustainability and other areas.
And what skills do you think that you've improved by studying the Welsh Back?
I've definitely gained a wider understanding and a critical view of the world and different people within the world. I've also developed my research skills and evaluating the credibility of resources and referencing, etc., which is obviously very useful for university.
Yeah, you were talking to us earlier that you've been looking at the Harvard referencing system, so you've been practicing using that. So talking about university, that leads us on to our next question, what you hope to do next.
I'd like to study French and law in one of the top universities like Oxford or Durham. Then after that, I would like to go to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and hopefully, fingers crossed, become a diplomat. And well, the refugee crisis is very relevant to all diplomats out there.
So brilliant. So actually, the skills that you're developing will help you with your university application, but also for your future career aspirations in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. And I'm sure everybody will wish both Ryan and David all the best for their future and in America and possibly in Europe and across the world with you, Ryan, as well. So thank you both for joining us. Perhaps you could show your appreciation for Ryan and David giving some time out of their busy schedules to join us today. And if you have any questions, please do ask. But if you can find the round of applause, some people have, a round of applause for Ryan and David. And thank you for joining us today, explaining how important the Welsh Back has been to you both. So we've learned a little bit about, good luck from everybody at Pembrokeshire College. We're all wishing you all the best, so well done. We've considered a little bit now the learner experience of the Welsh Back, and that you're having a great time here in Merthyr College. I'd like to introduce to you Paul Davis from Cymoedd. We're just going to get his slide on now. Now, Paul, we met at the Welsh Back Regional CPD. So if any of you have been with us over the last in the last couple of weeks, we had 4 sessions where we had Welsh Back coordinators and some Welsh Back staff get together, another way to share practice in FE. So it's great that we've got some school and some FE joining us today on the webinar. But Paul has actually been developing something for his colleagues and for CPD. So welcome to our webinar this afternoon, Paul. So could you tell us a little bit more about the work that you've been doing?
Okay, so my role at Cymoedd is to coordinate the Global Citizenship Challenge. I get 4 hours a week to work on that. My other job is a full-time lecturer. My background is international politics. I'm an Amnesty International teacher as well, and a Holocaust Educational Trust trained teacher. So this is actually something that I enjoy. Last year I took over the role quite late, and our focus last year was getting through assessment. This year, now we've had a bit more time, my main focus is getting staff prepared to deliver good standard sessions. So having a knowledge of the issues involved, I understand that they are staff are limited with time. Confidence tackling some of the very difficult topics involved, and sometimes may not have the depth of knowledge may be required, because I think this challenge out of all of them is unique to other challenges in that you actually do need a bit of knowledge behind the lessons to teach it. So my job in the college at the moment is to make staff more comfortable. I created a Moodle site, which is on the screen. The rest of the site has the usual stuff like the key documents, the assessment materials, etc. But I thought it was really important that we had a list of resources where people could access as quickly as possible. These are resources that I've gathered from different training sessions or met different people. I haven't put anything on my own on there at the moment, but we do need to produce schemes of work. And on those schemes of work, we do need to highlight where the different skills are being assessed. So in order to allow staff an easier, because I all know how difficult and boring schemes of work can be, we can make your own scheme of work reasonably easy, sort of using this resource. So it highlights that this resource is using PESTLE, this resource is using literacy. And then staff can explore then and dip in and out. If they're doing the economy this week, they can dip in and have a look at that. And most of the sources there can be done within an hour or 2 hours. Some of them have been specifically made for the Welsh Back, the new Welsh Back, Fair Trade Wales, they're on there as well. Some of the Oxfam stuff is directly linked to Welsh Back, so they've done resources on PESTLE. The other thing that I've done in the college this year is delivered some CPD. The idea of the CPD again is to give staff maybe low on confidence or knowledge the sort of tools that they need to deliver a session. Sessions don't necessarily need hours and hours and hours of research if you have the right resources. So for example, it could just be once you've explained PESTLE, just picking a topic relevant to your staff. So I got a sports colleague who just PESTLed FIFA, so that kept them happy for at least an hour. And then you could use short videos, short clips to introduce a lesson, whether that's the Han Roslin video in the background on the slide at the moment, which looks at poverty and income. Use that as a starting point. The students, the learners get engaged, and you can then set them off into groups. They can look at individual countries, look at individual issues, and then you're practicing all the relevant different skills, and you have done no research. All you've done is listed different questions you can ask during the lesson, and the lesson's done for you. So that's another hour or 2 hours without real lots of preparation. Another one I've used is like finding bias. News articles and some of the resources made by Oxfam. They point out ones like on climate change, an article pro, an article anti. And again, you haven't done much research. You don't have to know the ins and outs of the science behind climate change. You just need to know, have the articles, and the students then use their creativity and critical thinking. But obviously some topics do need a little bit of knowledge. So in the CPD, they help link topics together. So if you're going to tackle the migration crisis, which is obviously a really difficult topic and quite controversial at times, and then the students get a lot of negative media representation, you also need to link it back then to the Syria crisis. So why has the migration crisis happened? So a nice tool there is a website I found with like the before and after pictures of Syria, just giving the students a sort of build a little bit of empathy about the topic and a little bit of understanding rather than just the images they see in the news. So that's mainly what I do at the moment, is trying to help staff give them ideas for short lessons with a lack of need for huge amounts of research. Because staff are interested, they want to engage in the topic, but if they think they've got to prepare a whole scheme of work with huge amounts of resources and hours of reading, some people love it, most don't. And this will help them do that. My plan for next year then, because we don't do level 2 or 1 in our institution at the moment, is to plan resources around level 2 and level 3's experience, not overlapping. So level 3 and level 2, one of the issues we have is that sometimes they've done something on level 2, they come to level 3 and then they don't want to do it again, and all that good work done on level 2 can be lost. So that's my plan for next year. Thank you.
Paul, that was very comprehensive, and you managed to get that all into 5 minutes, but there's so much work has gone into that. And I believe, Paul, you are willing to share that with us at Colegau Cymru. So as we're developing our skills Moodle site, we will share Paul's good work, but in return I would hope, and Paul would hope, that you might like to share your resources and your good work with him too. So we are looking to share resources and to provide a place that we can host those. During the next 2 terms we'll be gathering these resources, so if you could let either Anne, or I know Anne will probably put our emails into the chat pane at the moment, and we will share what Paul has done. Now, if you have any questions for Paul, for David, for Ryan, for Dawn, or for Emma, this is your opportunity. We did have a couple of questions earlier, so I'm going to hand the headphones back to Emma. Did you write the questions down as well, Emma?
The questions were both around the personal standpoint. So actually, it was basically about what the personal standpoint, whether it should be like an essay format. What I'd say is I'd refer you to the exemplars on the WJC Secure website, and that'll give you a good example of what a personal standpoint looks like. But I'd also bear in mind that literacy is being assessed here, so you need to refer to the assessment grid and the specification. So yes, we are looking for a more formal type of writing, more longhand, more essay style. And there was another question about PESTLE, and PESTLE should be within the personal standpoint, referred to within the personal standpoint.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you for answering those. And we also had a question for Ryan and for David about the compulsory nature of the Welsh Back. And I think Ryan is going to respond to that. So Ryan, I think the question was about whether you were happy that it was a compulsory subject.
Yeah, if it wasn't compulsory, I don't think I would have chosen to study the Welsh Back, but I think it does give me a competitive advantage over other students in other parts of the UK who don't study the Back. It is also equivalent to another A level, so I will be leaving with 5 A levels, which the more the merrier, I think.
Fantastic.
And I think the skills are so versatile as well. They'll help me for the rest of my life. So
Yeah, and excellent. Oh, thank you, and thank you for that. And I think David has got something to add to that about the Welsh Back being compulsory.
I mean, yeah, I agree with everything Ryan just said. It does give us a competitive advantage in with other students that maybe won't have the same thing if they didn't study the Welsh Back. And again, I'll also be leaving with 5 A levels, so that also adds another benefit to the program. But I think the although the Welsh Back might have had some bad reception, it's got our interest. It affects our interests, and it does develop our skills in a certain way that does definitely benefit us.
Thank you. And I think you said earlier as well, David, that you are actually studying 4 very science-based and maths-based subjects, whereas for your application to your university, you've got to write some essays. And I think you were talking earlier about having these essay skills and the report writing skills will be a
exactly.
benefit.
Yeah, obviously with the science subjects, you don't really go into you don't you rarely really write a lot in the science subjects, whereas it does give that other side to the.
Excellent. So some very honest answers. Yes, I think hands up if they'd have had the choice, perhaps they wouldn't have chosen it. But on reflection, both young men here with us today have said they can definitely see how it's benefit them in the short term, but also with their future careers. I believe we had another question for you, Emma. Have you dealt with that question? Oh yes, the answer is in the chat pane, so it needs to be in the standpoint. As we're saying, the research doesn't need to be sent, so I hope that's helpful. We are coming towards the end of our very first webinar. Thank you all for joining us very much. We hope that you have benefited and that you have been able to share some ideas. On the screen in front of you, we're not going to spend very long on this, but I just wanted to highlight to you one digital app or digital tool that you may or may not have seen called Poplet. What we like about this is a mind map. If you want to be storing your evidence digitally, it's a very clean mind map. It's free, a free tool to use. You can have up to 10 mind maps. And what is particularly useful about this, if you are working in a group, that you can add collaborators so that more than one person can share in this mind map. So if you just want to Google Poplet, you will come up with this tool that you can use. Okay, we are fast running out of time, but we do want to point you to what's happening next. On the 30th of November, there is a Europe, Why It Still Matters to Vocational Education and Training in Wales. There's a conference run by Colegau Cymru. If you go to the Colegau Cymru website, perhaps Anne will put the link to www.collegeswales.ac.uk. There's still time to book into that if you'd like to take part in that discussion. On the 1st of December, there will be a portfolio introducing you to the e-portfolio used by WJEC, and I think most centres will be receiving a circular, or they have actually had the circular now, about the expectations for this year from WJEC on the use of the e-portfolio. So if you are worried about that, please join us on the 1st of December. We are being hosted by Group Llandrachlomenau. And we will just have a basic overview. So this is going to be targeting people that are quite nervous, that haven't looked at the Moodle site before. Please join us. I'll be sending out details to everybody about the e-portfolio on the webinar. And we're going to be joined there by GWER, the regional consortia in the north. We also have some regional meetings in January specifically about ePortfolio. These will be more practical. We'll be coming out to different regions, and this will be very hands-on, and you'll be having a chance to have a go at the ePortfolio on some of the dummy sites. And then in March, we have the next in our series of regional CPD on the equality cycle. And so Emma from WJC will be joining Colegau Cymru on looking at moderation and looking at quality in the Welsh Back. And cross-moderation across college we'll be focusing on. We'll also be on the 10th of January, which isn't on your screen, but please put it in your diary and please let us know if you'd like to host. We'd like to do a similar webinar to today based around the community challenge. So if you feel that you have something to share about the community challenge, please get in touch with us, because that's going to be on the 10th of January. We'll be looking at the community challenge. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to hand you back to Anne. We're going to play you a short video. Okay, we've got a suggestion for, in preparation for ePortfolio, we look at OneDrive, OneNote, putting passwords on file. Yeah, these will be ideas that we will discuss on ePortfolio. We're concentrating mostly on the WJAC Moodle, but certainly we will look at different ways that you are saving locally or on your own networks. So I'm just going to hand you back to Anne. Thank you very much again.
Right, thank you, Karen, and thank you to all who've taken part in our webinar today, to David, to Ryan, to Paul, to Dawn, and to Emma. Thank you so much, all of you. And thank you all for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to, just before we finish, show your thanks by, if you want to, by giving us a round of applause or a smiley or something like that. We do hope to see you all at the next one. What I'm going to do just to sign us out is I'm then going to show you a video that was made in Merthyr, picking up bits from the from various things on the refugees. So I'm going to try and share that now with you. But thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye. Diolch yn fawr.
Germany is facing a drastic number of refugees by the end of 2015, believed to be in the region of 1.5 million.
It is not quite on a biblical scale, but an exodus it certainly is. Migrants who've been trapped at the railway station in Budapest, now deciding to walk the hundreds of miles to Germany